Well, hello everyone, my name is Jeff Crume. You're watching The Finest Women in Real Estate. I'm excited to be your host today, and we have two very special guests that are going to start the show off. We're going to meet them right now. First to my right is Rebecca Ciastko. And Rebecca is an architecture, real estate designer, lots of information we're going to hear from you today. Beside Rebecca, we have Laleh, like pronounced Laleh.
Perfect.
I heard you talking in the lobby about like lollipop. Is that how we?
It's a good way to kind of get you in the right direction. I always tease that Eric Clapton has everybody confused with Layla, but Eric Clapton, if you're listening, I'd like for you to sing it right someday.
Yeah, we'll have to get that on another show. But America's First Mortgage and Benefit, right?
America Choice Mortgage and Benefits.
America's Choice Mortgage and Benefits. So let's start with you, Laleh. Of course, The Finest Women in Real Estate. The show is about not only the transaction, not only what we do, but who we are. So what we'd like to do is give our viewing audience a little bit better understanding of who you are, maybe what your story is, and how you kind of got into the mortgage business. So share with us if you don't mind.
Well, before September 11th, I was actually an employee benefits business, and I would go in and enroll employees in a great service. And after September 11th, I kind of got spit out. So many companies were laying people off, and I got pulled into mortgages, and kind of been in love with mortgage lending ever since. It's been an interesting road, ups and downs, but I also created America Choice Benefits, a corporate benefit program, mostly because people just leave school and they're not really prepared for how to reach the American dream. So we created a benefits program around mortgage and real estate and credit planning and just making that plan.
Let's back up a little bit because you piqued my interest. I was reading in some information about you, and I know one of the articles or one of the interviews that you did, you said you got spit out by 9/11. Help me as more of a layman's term. What does that mean? What were you doing at that time, and what was it about 9/11 that kind of spit you out into to the mortgage business?
So I offered Legal Shield, which is a great insurance for legal insurance, and people need wills, and kind of goes hand in hand with mortgage. So I still offer it, but it's not my main focus.
Okay.
But at the time, I was a voluntary benefit, and I think the average company within a couple of years of 9/11 downsized by about 45%, and some of the accounts that I had recently enrolled, they went down completely. And so trying to get somebody to call back and allow that kind of noise in when they're really just trying to figure out how do they stay afloat as a company and they're laying people off, I just couldn't get anybody to call back anymore. And I went from doing really, really well to wondering what am I going to do. And a good friend had always been trying to recruit me and said, look, we can't keep up, we're really busy. And I went right into mortgages. I got 18 loan applications the very first day.
Wow.
And built a team and was really fortunate, but I also wrote a lot of ups and downs because the market's been clearly volatile, but mistakes, and hopefully people have learned. But one thing I don't think that has changed is people leave college and high school and they lack the knowledge about basic mortgage, financing, good debt, bad debt, planning, what creates a credit score, real estate, diversifying investments. And I feel like no matter who I'm speaking to, it could be an entrepreneur or a doctor, nurse, professor even, and they really need education on the fly and somebody that can break it down and help them learn and understand their options rather than a one size fits all and don't ask any questions or moving too fast.
I remember you and I talking a little bit offset as well, and the other day, and also some of the things that I've read about you. You're talking about education is really important to you, educating the consumer. Let's talk a little bit in layman's terms, okay? Because I know we can kind of get carried away with all lingo. In fact, we were talking the other day, and we were talking about speaking a foreign language, and that doesn't mean somebody speaking Chinese and somebody speaking English. It could mean somebody speaking mortgage brokerage, right? And somebody speaking layman terms. So talk to me a little bit about the mortgage. What do you feel that most people don't know about a mortgage that you could possibly help them with?
Well, I just think there's a lot of myths that people somehow spread. So for example, the banks, they really try to encourage people to make that biweekly payment. And you'll get a little notice, every 2 weeks, make a payment, and you're going to save 7 years off your loan and this much in interest. That is really, really a lie. It is not true. You're not saving a penny by advance paying your principal. And you would not believe the most intelligent men and women that I meet that have been doing this for years, and they don't realize they're giving the bank their money to hold interest-free. And they're actually making the bank, rather than their family, more secure. Because you don't earn money from putting it in your home. You appreciate value.
Okay.
And so leverage on the property as long as possible, especially if you have tax benefit. So eventually, yes, you can save interest, but it's better to just pay that loan off in full when you've taken that money and you've let it grow so you can actually accomplish more faster.
So your average person coming out of college, right? They've got a great job. They've got a little bit of experience under their belt. They got a little bit of a savings. What's their next best move if they're considering buying a home? Where should they start?
Well, with credit.
Laleh.
So
Okay.
number one, I think everybody should take a look at credit at least once a year because there's a lot of fraud and identity theft. So number one, take a look at things. My name's Laleh. It's quite unique. My born name is Laleh Vakili, and right before I was buying a home when I was 21, there's actually another Laleh Vakili born in the same month as me, and our credit got merged 2 weeks before escrow.
Oh, wow.
And somehow all of a sudden, my score dropped down 1 point too soon. So, it's never too late and too often to really keep an eye on what things are and where that gets you, because we can raise a credit score in 5 days that can save somebody thousands and thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And not everybody will take that time. They'd rather just get the loan closed in 2 weeks and give them what they deserve at the moment. But
Sure.
small little steps for somebody that's willing to coach somebody to that process can save somebody a lot.
So thank you so much for sharing. Becky, let's transition a little bit to you and your side. Now, you're not in the mortgage business. You're in the architecture business. You're more in the design business. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, I'm in architecture, real estate development.
Okay. And your company is?
In-house architecture and development.
Okay. So what is it that about this whole real estate world that drew you to the architecture side, the development side, rather than the mortgage side, the sales side? What was it about that that intrigued you?
Actually, I started in the architecture side of things, and I went through. When I went through architecture school, I was, gung-ho designer and really interested in, I think like most architects, thinking I could save the world. And I still have a little piece of that in me, like, put my cape on every day or whatever. But when I graduated, the real estate market had turned, and much like you're saying, that there wasn't a lot of people get out of school without this education on how to live life in the real world, so to speak. And I was one of those people. I sort of graduated with okay, well, I'm going to get a job and life is going to be great. But I didn't realize how much the context of the rest of the world, specifically real estate, was going to affect my job and so many other people's economic welfare. And
Sure.
So it was adapt in order to survive. And so I went from architecture. I then learned a skill of construction management, and I spent boots on the ground, which was great for me. And then I realized all the people I was working with were investors and developers, and architects don't build buildings, developers do. So I then realized in order to sort of conquer and be able to get my ideas out in the world, I had to work toward development. So I went and got my real estate license as well.
So you wear more than one hat.
Definitely.
You wear more than one hat. You and I talked a little bit about your niche is kind of more female investors, right? Women investors that you and I were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah?
So I do work with a lot of investors, men and women, but I tend to gravitate more toward women, which is not as common for me. I used to work mostly with men, being in the architecture and construction world that's very male dominated. But I found that female investors, women investors, they approach things differently. And part of what I try to bring into my real estate work as well as my architecture work is the value of design.
Yeah.
And investors obviously want a return on their investment, but you have to focus on not just what you're going to get out of it as an investor, but what you're giving. And in residential investments, you have to think about the homeowner. The person's going to spend the time in the home. What can you give them? And that's the value of design.
And brand creation too. I think it has.
We've got a mouthful already. Brand creation, architecture design, finding the right mortgage, getting your credit score up. When we come back, we're also going to throw into this mix of conversation about taxation. We're going to hear from Rich Gaines when we come back.
Hello, I'm John Ruff, owner of Ruff & Ready Moving and Storage. Wherever you're moving, our team is eager to assist you with all your moving and storage needs. You can count on us to pack and handle your personal belongings with care. We also provide both temporary and long-term storage for your household or office goods. For more information or to schedule a free in-home estimate, visit us at ruffandreadymoving.com or call us today. From down the street to across the country, if your move is too tough, call Ruff.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool. Oh, yeah. Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the Finest Women in Real Estate. I'm your host, Jeff Crume, and we are joined in studio today with Laleh Hanks, who is American Choice Mortgage and Benefit owner. We also have with us Rebecca Ciastko, is in-house architecture and development. We've been talking about mortgages, we've been talking about credit scores, we've been talking about the spirit behind architectural design, and now we want to also welcome Rich Gaines. Rich, of course, is not a woman. He's not a woman in the real estate business, but he is a powerful professional in the taxation and law business. So Rich, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be here. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And for the benefit of our viewers, why don't you take just a 30 seconds, a minute, and give us a little bit of overview of who you are and what you do and how you specialize in helping your clients.
Great, happy to. Education has always been really, really important in my family. So because I am an attorney, I went to law school. That wasn't enough. I went to get an advanced degree in tax law afterward because I thought it would be a great way to help people to build their wealth, save money on taxes. Who doesn't want to save money on taxes? So for the last 25 years, I've had a very traditional law and tax practice where I'm helping people with behavior around taxes, how to save money in taxes, how to build their wealth, how to create a lifetime of wealth, do the things that everybody likes to do, and live your dream, really. Yeah. The best part of what happened was I got to a point where just being a technician wasn't enough, and I wanted to do more with my experience and my knowledge, and really to help people to live a better life, to have the things that they want, to build and grow their businesses. So what I do now is I've expanded my traditional practice into teaching business owners how to make better wealthy choices, how to make more money, how to get out of that transaction trap of doing, and how to build a lifetime of wealth.
Sure. So as an entrepreneur who might be watching, somebody who is just thinking about starting their business, what advice could you give them? What are some of the things that they need to look for right away when it comes to their taxation? What would you suggest?
I love that question because we were having a conversation before coming on set, and it's about team. It's about relationship. It's about the people that you work with, and having a collaboration with really, really powerful professionals, just as these ladies here and yourself, is so important because we're good at what we do. We've been trained in what we do, and we're not expected to know the other pieces of the business world. We're not trained in law and tax and real estate and architecture. And so having that team around us is probably the most important thing that we can do so that we can plan, we can structure, and we can get the best advice possible and save ourselves time and money. Because if you're going to do it all yourself, you're not going to be able to save that time. You're going to spend a lot of money, waste a lot of time.
If I may, let me interject. I'm thinking, again, from a layman, I'm not an architect, I'm not a mortgage broker, I'm not a tax, I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the business owner. So I'm looking at you three going, okay, I know I need you, but let's talk about this a second. There's 1,000 of you. There's 1,000 of you, Laleh. Rebecca, there's 1,000 of you. Talk to me a little bit about what differentiates you and your specific company, your specific service from anybody else that might be doing the same thing. Rich, let's start with you.
Sure. Well, personally, it's my knowledge and my education. I far surpass most professionals out there in my industry. I'm probably in the top 2% in my industry of what I know. Plus, I've been a business owner for over 35 years. I've done a lot of personal development, so I understand people, I understand growth, I understand relationships, I understand what it takes, I understand the heartache that people go through as business owners. And so it's that human connection and really knowing how to relate to others and how to understand what their dream is, what their goal is, what their pathway is, and to bring that level of knowledge and experience along with the technical, the toolkit.
30 years. Education, how many years in school? That'll throw you for a
3
loop,
years
right?
law, 1 year tax plus the undergrad, so
Yeah.
whatever that is, yeah.
Yeah.
16
Laleh, I know you and I were talking a little bit about you being a people person. And I think being a people person is really important in the industry, right?
Absolutely.
Share a little bit with it about how you stand out. Because, people can say that they're a people person, but there's a difference in just saying it and being it, right? There's two different differences.
Actions certainly speak louder than words, and one of the ways I get business is when when someone opens an escrow, and I'm normally just representing the buyer, but by the time we're done, the listing agent's normally contacting me, mostly because of communication. A lot of loan officers, when there's a problem, they kind of run and hide. They don't really want to address it to everybody, and they might have a harder time coming up with solutions. One of my biggest attributes is I'm a problem solver. I always believe if there's a will, there's a way,
Yeah.
and it might not work here, but I do have 17 years of experience, so I know it might work over here. And we do a lot of bumping into guidelines until we find that right spot. And I think just experience and time and asking the right questions and planning, and not only working with, but working with professionals, so that when you do a really good job on the tax return, and then I get it, and I said, but wait, he wanted to buy a property next week. We need to take a look at this a little, So working together and really sharing your plans with your team of professionals so that you have that path.
One of the things she talked about was this idea of, do I pay my mortgage early? Do I pay that extra payment?
Yeah.
It has economic implications, cash flow implications, tax implications, and so having everybody working together on the team for your benefit to understand the best value is
And getting
a
the
terrific way
truth,
to go.
because the banks really do spend a lot of money to try to get people to do that. They wouldn't be doing it for no reason. It's because it makes the banks more secure.
Well, and as one of your clients, I've got to know that you have my best interests at heart, right? I've got to be able to trust. I've got to be able to build that relationship. Rebecca, talk to us a little bit about how do you build this effective relationship between you and a total stranger and bring them on now as a client? And I don't know, by looking at you and talking to you and getting to know you a little bit, maybe even part of the family. How do I go from stranger to your client to a part of your family?
I think part of it is they have to trust what you're saying is valuable to them, of course.
Yeah.
So that one of the keys in selling something is you build rapport. They say you build rapport. It's really not about just building rapport and making a fake connection. Oh, you have a cute cat. No. It's not about that. It's really about what value you're adding to them. And in my business, I have sort of two generally very separate skill sets that I've seen a huge overlap in the industry, and I'm merging them together. That's sort of the uniqueness that I bring to it. But that helps me build that rapport, as they say, but in a more genuine sense. So I really do dive in and connect with people. And some people I really get along with great, and as you said, they sort of become family to me, and I have lasting relationships with them. And then there's other people that I'm able to provide some value, but maybe we don't see things the same way, or we don't necessarily have the same outcome. And those people, I do my best for them, but they aren't necessarily the lasting relationships. So it's okay to let go of some people. You're not really you shouldn't be chasing business, you should be chasing like-minded people.
Let me interject. We have just about 60 seconds left. Laleh, talk to me about somebody that you say no to. Not everybody is your client, right? Not everybody is your ideal client. How do you actually say thank you, but no thank you, we don't think you're the right fit? How do you do that?
Very seldom do I have to do that, but there are times where, I find that somebody's maybe not doing something with full integrity. Then, I'm not going to compromise, my integrity, my license, my livelihood, so I will have to, step away from certain situations and suggest some proper steps for the future. I always welcome them back, but that's normally the only case where I kind of step away from something, because otherwise someone's just trying to get there.
I love these conversations. During this first segment, we've talked to our guest about what they do, right? We have architecture represented, we have lending represented, we have taxation represented. But when we come back, we're going to ask them the all-important question. Not what do you do, but who are you? Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm John Ruff, owner of Ruff & Ready Moving and Storage. Wherever you're moving, our team is eager to assist you with all your moving and storage needs. You can count on us to pack and handle your personal belongings with care. We also provide both temporary and long-term storage for your household or office goods. For more information or to schedule a free in-home estimate, visit us at roughandreadymoving.com or call us today. From down the street to across the country, if your move is too tough, call Rough.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool. Oh, yeah. Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, thank you so much for coming back. My name is Jeff Crume. I'm your host today here on The Finest Women in Real Estate. We are in studio with the Laleh Hanks from American Choice Mortgage and Benefit. We are in studio with Rebecca Ciastko, who is in-house architecture and development. We've been hearing a lot from you. And then the last guest that came on was Rich Gaines, taxation with Legacy Legal Inc. Now, Rich, I got to play off of your name just a little bit, if I may. Rich Gaines. I think there has to be something behind that with you being a tax guy, right?
There totally is.
Well, tell us the story.
So my name is Rich Gaines, and I've had a 35-year career as a tax attorney, but the best part is my wife and I have twins.
Wait for it.
They were
and
born
when were they
on
born?
April 15th.
April 15th. April tax guy, right, with twins, born on April 15th.
Just fate sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
it was total fate.
Yep.
Well, here's a funny one.
Yeah.
So my name Laleh in Farsi means tulip. And my last name, Vakili, that I was born with, it's now my middle name, is attorney. So everybody needs a tulip attorney. And Laleh in Spanish means the law. So I might not be in charge of be legal, but I do mortgages.
My last name just means cookie, so I don't know where that goes.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
But descent-wise, you were talking about family heritage. You are from?
I was born in the U.S. I grew up in New England, but my family is Polish. I'm
From Polish.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have all of you here. What I love is about the unique perspectives that each of you bring to the table, right? And we've had conversations off camera that we talked about that the world is full of what I do, right? We're this type of person. We're this type of label. It's easy to live in a society that has labels, but outside of the label, do you mind taking the segment of this show here and talk a little bit about who you are as an individual? We know that you're an architecture designer, but what inside of you makes you tick, Rebecca? What causes you to be you?
I think that I tend to be a very creative person. The fact that I chose architecture as a profession allows me to be both analytical and creative. But I just have this drive, as I mentioned earlier too. I sort of went into architecture as like, I think I can save the world. Kind of, I have this altruistic side that just wants to make the world a better place. And I've learned throughout the trials and tribulations and running into those brick walls of bureaucracy that sometimes you just have to change the rules if you want to change the world, And so that's what drives me, I think.
Very well said. What drives you, Laleh? What?
Mostly my experiences. I feel like with pain comes passion, and I'm really passionate about what I do. I also know when you look at your own situation, it can be overwhelming, so we're really good at helping you go through your situation faster than you would. So that's why the planning piece and credit, I can always do that for somebody else really, really easy.
Yeah. Is it easier to do it for others
All day
than
long.
it is
It's
for
like
ourselves?
yeah, 100 times, yeah.
It's always harder to do it to yourself. Rich, you and I are talking a little bit outside about. I think the majority of you, even you as a taxation specialist, the majority of you is underwater, right? You're the iceberg where we're seeing just a little bit of the tip, right? Give us just 30 seconds of how did you form this underneath, that part that people don't see?
Yeah, that's a great point. So I did a lot of work with personal development, and I call it survival to service. I grew up in a family with two older brothers, so I was the baby, the third child. It was kind of like survival with them.
Yeah.
But looking at that whole journey and going to service, what a transformation that was. Yeah. One of the things I like to say is at my age, I don't care anymore. Yeah. I don't care about the BS. I don't care about the nonsense. I don't care about all the snake oil salesmen. What I care about is I care about you. I care about your business. I care about your life. Yeah. I care about what your future is going to hold, and that's what's underneath.
only on The Finest Women in Real Estate, said so well, not even from a female person, but thank you very much for your perspective. Thank you for sharing. You know, one of the things that I love about the show is about the collaboration. We are all experts in our specific fields, and we all come together every show to talk about life, to talk about business. And maybe you're watching today and this is the first time you've tuned in. I want to encourage you to keep watching The Finest Women in Real Estate. As you've learned, this is not just about real estate. This is about being the finest, and not just in who you are, what you do, but who you are as an individual. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jeff Crume, your host, and we'll see you next time right here on The Finest Women in Real Estate.